Good afternoon, Book Passage customers, and all of our viewers out there. Welcome. Welcome to this amazing afternoon event we have in store for you. My name is Cheryl Bronstein. I am one of the event coordinators here at Book Passage. And I also want to thank our other independent bookstores that are joining us today, Books and Books, Barrett Books, and Wellesley Books. We certainly appreciate our partnership with these other independent bookstores. And then we are very grateful to all our viewers out there. Thank you for buying your books and supporting independent bookstores. Book Passage is a Bay Area independent bookstore, and we have two locations. We have our store in Corte Madera, and we have our store in the San Francisco Ferry Building. So next time you're nearby, please pop in. We'd love to see you. You can call us on the phone to purchase books. And you can also look at our website, bookpassage.com. And we would love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And you can get all of our events on our website. Again, that is bookpassage.com. Today's event also will be archived. So if you have missed it, or you can't watch the whole thing, or you have friends and family that you think would love this event, they can tune back in and catch this on our website at a later date and time. All right, we are so proud to bring you this amazing programming that we have. We call it our Conversations with Authors. And many of these events are free. We bring them to you either virtually or in person, or oftentimes both. I'm going to mention one of the events we have coming up. On Saturday, March 18th, we will be hosting New York Times best-selling author Kristen Hanna. She will be discussing her New York Times bestseller, The Four Winds, which is now out in paperback. And this event, again, is on March 18th in our Corte Madera store at 1:00 p.m. You can come in and view the event in person, or you can watch virtually on our website. So however that works for you, we'd love for you to participate in this incredible author and the presentation of her amazing novel, The Four Winds. Here at Book Passage, our mission is to enrich, engage, and inspire. And Book Passage has been a Bay Area institution and a family-owned business for over 40 years. So again, we are so grateful to our loyal customers. Thank you for supporting us. And if you're new to Book Passage, well, welcome. We hope this is the beginning of an incredible relationship. Well, today, as many of you know, and some of you may not, it is International Women's Day. And at Book Passage, we are celebrating with food, wine, and lifestyle. All right, here in California, it's just about lunchtime, and I hope our West Coast viewers are hungry. Susan Gravely's new book, Italy on a Plate, will inspire you to bring out your beautiful dishware, put together an amazing menu like pomodoro mozzarella, which is tomatoes and mozzarella, and share a meal with family and friends, or just enjoy on your own. Italy on a Plate is an exploration into what makes Italy so magical. Its staggering beauty, unparalleled lifestyle, artistic legacy, and of course, incredible food. And I'm going to hold the book up because this book is just outstanding. You see the cover there? It is a gorgeous book, beautiful recipes, incredible photographs. It really brings out the best of Italy, and it is something that you would really love having in your home. Susan Gravely is the founder and CEO of Viatri. This is a lifestyle brand of Italian artisan crafted dinnerware and home and garden accessories. Now, many of you have probably seen her products. They are just spectacular, and there are many photographs of them in the book as well. Viatri is now America's largest Italian ceramics importing company. It has been around for 40 years. She's told me they are celebrating their 40th anniversary this year. They partner with numerous Italian manufacturers in various regions throughout Italy. Viatri serves customer bases of over 2,000 specialty retailers and department stores in all of our 50 states, as well as internationally. Susan currently oversees product design. She lives in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, with her husband, and her dog, Franco. And today, Susan is joined by her dear friend and colleague, Frances Mays. Frances is the author of the classic Under the Tuscan Sun, which was a New York Times bestseller for more than 2.5 years. It also became a movie starring Diane Lane. Her other international bestsellers include Bella Tuscany, Every Day in Tuscany, A Year in the World, and 3 illustrated books in Tuscany, Bringing Tuscany Home, and the Tuscan Sun Cookbook. She's also the author of 2 novels, Swan and Women in Sunlight. And I'm going to hold up. This is my favorite of her books. It's wonderful. We have it available at Book Passage as well. Frances has been, her writing has been translated into more than 50 languages. I'm going to say that again, 50 languages. That is quite an accomplishment. So we know she is read throughout the globe. She and her husband divide their time between North Carolina and Cortona, Italy. So again, thank you for joining us. Books and Books, Wellesley Books, Barrett Books. We are thrilled to be hosting 2 amazing authors, 2 lifestyle gurus, and most importantly, 2 very good friends. So please give a warm welcome to our celebrated women authors on International Women's Day, Susan Gravely and Frances Mays. Welcome.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you. We're happy to be here. We're not in Italy. We're both, of course, mad for Italy, lifelong lovers of everything Italian. But here we are, happy to be also in the United States and to be on this show. I absolutely love Book Passage. I lived in California for so many years and just so many wonderful events there, plus having been able to present my own books there. It's a cultural center as well as a bookstore. It's something quite special. And we're also happy to be with the other bookstores who are joining in. I haven't been down to Books and Books in a while, but it's also one of my favorites. Susan's book, Italy on a Plate, is just about to come out. Isn't that a nice cover? And it's a nice title, I must say so, because I suggested it to Susan.
She did.
Because plate, she's all about plates, vietri, table settings, how making the table is part of making friendships, making your way in the world. So plate seemed essential to say, as well as Italy. So I am lucky to be one of the chapters in this book. Susan and her crew came to my house, and it was fun taking all the photos and talking about the book. It was also fun just to sit down at the table and have lots of wine and food together. They were on kind of a whirlwind trip. So
this is Frances and Ed in front of Brahma Sole, their home in Cortona, and the name, as you recognize, is the name of their home from Under the Tuscan Sun.
Yeah, Brahma Sole, yearning for the sun, and that we always do. So Susan and I are neighbors, we're friends. We got together originally when I was working in High Point on a line of furniture, and we decided to do this wonderful line of ceramics together, the Brahma Sole dinnerware. So that was just a lucky meeting. We've been friends ever since, and we're just big fans of Vietri. If we went around the corner in my kitchen and opened the cupboards, you would think you were in a ceramic shop, and it's all Vietri. So it's been a joy to have all those options for setting the table, because one thing we both feel is that the table is the center of the universe. It's not just having people over for dinner and doing your best in the kitchen, but of course, it's the Italian tradition of intimate friendship, hospitality, and also the sense of casualness that I think Vietri really promotes, which is everything can be mixed and matched, and you get new people coming to the table unexpectedly, and you just get out a plate. You don't worry about it. So I am so thrilled to be a part of this book. My photograph is in it. And I know some of the people, other people who are in the book, but mostly I really love the aspect of friendship that permeates this book. But maybe we should start at the very beginning, because the Atri has a very Woman's Day kind of initiation.
Yeah.
So maybe, Susan, you could just start by telling us about that fateful trip you and your mother and sister took to the Amalfi Coast.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Cheryl, for having me. And it's always an honor to be sitting next to Frances. Today, she's giving me the praise, but someone asked me today who I would honor on International Women's Day, and I said you. So, Frances has been a huge mentor for me. I've written children's books based on a dinnerware line called Old Saint Nick. That was great fun, but this is the first book. It really celebrates our 40 years in business, and it's memories, travel, and menus. So that the menus are coming from the different people in the chapter, along with some of Frances's original menus, one of which I'll tell you about later, which is my favorite recipe. What happened was in 1981, my father at 60 suddenly died of a heart attack. He had just sold his tobacco business. I'm from Eastern North Carolina, and we always gathered around the table with foreigners for him to be hosting about tobacco. Well, he sold his company, went down to Georgia to introduce the new owners to the Italian conglomerate of all things, came back, didn't feel well, and died. 2 years later, I was in New York. My sister was having her second baby, and Mama called and said, I want to go on the trip your father and I planned. Well, her entire life, if she called, we stopped everything, because her attitude was, if you don't travel better than where you live, why travel? And she lived in that metaphor and reality of a table, the metaphor of meeting new people, talking about books, talking about art, talking about life, and ending a conversation feeling better, feeling like you've maybe created a new relationship. And then Frances and my love of being around a real table, gathering friends, strangers, people bringing things or cooking ourselves, and having people together. So we went down to the Amalfi Coast. We went into Il San Pietro, a place every one of you should go. We went down the mountain, opened the elevator door to see this cave-like space, very big living room with cotton twill coverings on all the furniture, beautiful rugs, and then art. And then we turned left, and there were peach-colored tablecloths, all assorted patterns of what is now our Campagna dinnerware. And the glories of the blue sky and the green, gorgeous oak, and a pizza making fire, bringing out these beautiful golden colors. And when we sat down for dinner, we all said we need to go to the factory. Well, within 3 days, we had talked about buying for ourselves, buying for our friends, opening a retail store, and then sat with a couple from New York in clothing manufacturing who said, clearly, you love to travel, you love to design, you love to dream, you need to wholesale and distribute. That was it. So that was the beginning of an all-women's company on International Women's Day.
Fantastic. What a lucky meeting of those people, because you might have done it anyway, but that was just a little nudge in the right direction.
Exactly. And
so you packed up some trunks and came home with the stuff. And
so we packed up 12 plates, brought it home, ordered some samples, and talked about our first order and had talked to Don Vincenzo, the father of 10, about pricing, and went home. And during the flight over, my sister had started talking to an Italian gentleman who came to meet the mother and the 2 daughters, gave us his card, Belle Donne, you can hear him. And when we got to Florence, Mama's pocketbook was stolen. So the only person we knew was this gentleman who had given us his card. Well, he ended up being our agent for
Unbelievable.
8 years. So we went back, wrote our first order. I came back and met the gentleman who managed the New York Tabletop Show and talked him into the column next to the registration desk if it would look good. And our first order was Neiman Marcus. So, and they've been a company that we've sold to for 40 years. So it's all been very serendipity and a woman's kind of way of being curious and never saying no, just looking at that map of opportunity and taking a right and a left and a straight and a behind.
Following instinct.
Following
Yeah.
instincts and falling in love with Italy.
Yes, yes. Well, that's probably the greatest side effect of the whole business venture is now for 40 years you have been able to travel in Italy. And this book is just kind of a monument to all the friendships
It
that
is.
have come about, not only through business, but through just normal travel and taking Italian lessons and driving around and whatever. So for me, learning to see all these places you've been, sampling all this food. There's so many things in here that I want to make. Oh, there are those cookies.
Yes, I am going to right now show you the picture of my favorite recipe. And this is incredible.
You mean this one?
Yes, because
Okay.
show this picture. These are shortbread cookies with a scent of orange and sage.
They're
Tell
so
about how
easy.
you put sage in it.
Well, shortbread cookies are the easiest cookies in the world because all you have to do is melt the butter and put in the flour and sugar. But there's just millions of ways you can flavor them, lemon and pistachio, whatever, orange. But I just happened once to do it this way, and I really like the orange and salvia.
Oh my gosh.
Because you can make them in like 5 minutes.
Yes, so Francis said to me, yes, you can make them in 5 minutes. You roll the dough, you put it in the freezer to be really cold, and then you can take out a few at night and eat a couple of cookies.
Yeah.
No way. You make
Serve
them and you eat them all, and this sage just brings to life the cookie with
lemon hazelnut gelato. It's particularly good. Now, you can't make that in an instant, but it's well worth making.
and created by Francis Mays. And that's one of
This
the
is another one of mine. I
yes,
think,
it
isn't
is.
it?
And
This is
oh,
another really easy one. See it that well, but it's very unlikely. It's fresh chopped peas, or you can use frozen peas with a little shallot and mascarpone. It's a great topping for.
so
But I'm
delicious.
just looking at mine here, but you
Well, here's one,
have things from
another.
all your friends.
The cover of the book is a kale sauce that has kale and pecorino cheese and salt and pepper, and you dribble the olive oil in, and you just put it in your Cuisinart, and you keep pushing it back and forth, and it gets cold, and you put it on a crostini, and then you add cannellini beans on top. That's divine.
Yes.
So what I did is my young staff had wanted me to do this book for a long time, and I couldn't decide if I was going to do a business book on entrepreneurship or starting a women's business, or a travel book or recipe book. And we said, let's do it all. Let's make it a cookbook as a strong unit. So I listed the people that had been really influential for these 40 years. The first chapter was the story of Vietri and my family. And then I chose families that were in different regions of Italy and talked about them and what the specialness of the different regions were, asked them for recipes. And then, as you were saying, we went to their homes and took pictures of restaurants that we went to. And I think the combination of the story with these beautiful pictures and the recipes just
And
works.
your story, and the beautiful dinnerware in here. I mean, it all comes together. And you mentioned considering writing a business book.
Mm.
I think I mentioned to you, my friend Riccardo Ely wrote this wonderful book about why Italian family businesses are successful. And his method seems very foreign to Americans and that way of doing business. But the way you have set up Vietri and the way it works is very much like an Italian business that starts as a family business.
Right.
But treating the people who work with you like family, not letting people go during hard times.
Right.
All the things that he talks about as models, you instinctively knew how to do this. And I think that's kind of a unique thing in American business, and that you all do it so beautifully. A lot of people in your staff get to go to Italy.
They do. Yeah.
Everybody seems to feel, I've met so many people who work at Vietri, and they all seem to feel that they make their own contribution to the company, and that's why it runs so well, and that's why it's so incredibly successful.
Well, thank you. I think as Southern women, we saw a lot of small businesses, and we understood being encouraged, even in our generations, to write, to create something. And I don't think either one of us were ever afraid of doing it. And I think that made a big difference. And then through the years, you recognize that you don't leave people in bad times. You don't just take from the good times. So when the pandemic came, I called all of them. Their staff were down to, very few people, but they needed to work. So I said, make everything you can, ship it to us. We will pay you. Let's keep on going, because this will be over. We'll need the inventory, and we're in this together. And that was so appreciated. It was good for us too.
Yes.
So so that worked.
So this book also, it's representative of the cuisines of the different areas.
It
because
is.
You travel in all of those areas. When I wrote Always Italy, I went to all 21 regions of Italy. And one thing I learned that I already kind of knew because I've been in Italy so long, but how very different each region is, and how each one has its own art, its own dialect, its own architecture.
So true.
Particularly its own food, wine.
So I want to show you quickly this, which is that shows you this. This is the Veneto region, and it's in Friuli. It's north of Venice, and they are it's mountainous, so they're into rabbit legs, and then they're into beef. They're into
Very
duck.
rustic.
Very rustic.
But refined rustic. I think the food in that region is some of the very best.
Their wines are delicious. Their red wines, especially. I don't know.
Whites.
You like the whites
in the Friuli area.
You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
Friuli.
Yeah. And there's a strange name that Takai. Do you know the Takais? They used to use that name, and now they can't use it anymore.
From Hungary. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
and then
their white wines are just as complex as red wines. They're so good. And it's a very unknown kind of tourist area. Very few people go there, and it has so much to offer. And it's close to Austria. It's close to Slovenia. It's close to former Austrian and Hungarian Empire. And of course, it's near Venice, and it's Italian.
It's
so
wonderful.
It has all of these influences on food that make it. I think the best place to eat in Italy is for Italy. Can I
Yeah.
say that? Maybe Sicily. I don't know.
Sicily's great. But then here is the Amalfi Coast. You know, they call it fish in crazy water, pesce in acqua pazza. And this is a pattern that's made in that part of the world. But it's a wonderful, easy recipe of tomatoes and onions and herbs. And they cook them down. And then they take fresh white fish, it could be even a sea bass, and they fill the pan with this wonderful tomato base with water. And they put the fish on top and they boil the water again. The water goes down and the fish is cooked. So easy, and the
Very
flavors
easy.
are delicious.
Yeah.
So, you know, and they're all about the fish, of course.
Over in the Liguria area, I learned how to make the fish in salt crust.
You did?
That's a very interesting process because it's so counterintuitive. You think the fish it's wrapped in salt in a crust, and you have to crack into it. And you'd think the fish would be really salty, but it's not. It's just perfect.
Well,
I mean, cooking in Italy is just fantastic. It's never ending, each region having so much to offer.
the other good thing is that even though you eat a lot, if you eat fresh and you eat seasonal and you keep your wine consumption down, you don't consumption, but you don't gain that much weight.
No, you don't.
So
You're out, you're about.
Yeah.
I think that's one reason the Italians stay so trim and looking so good in their clothes. They're out walking all the time.
So I want to also show y'all Francis's new book. We're talking about Italy on a plate, but pasta veloci, fast pastas. I love this. Irresistibly fast recipes from under the Tuscan sun. So tell us about this cookbook.
This cookbook is not out yet. It's coming out from Abrams in April. So it's, brand new. I just got the first copy. It's still kind of looking at it like, oh, look at this.
And I love the way you divided the sections, because there's a beautiful, very Italian color palette. And in the color palette are just a simple picture or simple words. It's really beautiful. I'm really excited about
Well,
this.
one of the exciting things about this book is that I told Susan I was working on this book, and that for my previous cookbook, Under the Tuscan Sun cookbook, she had loaned me a lot of things from Vietri to use for the photos. So she said, oh, well, what do you need? And I told her, I went through their whole catalog, and here comes these 2 huge boxes arriving at my doorstep with all these wonderful things. So a lot of the staging, I did all the food styling with my co-author and the photographer.
Just incredible.
But like a lot of these we're using the Vietri plates, and we also partnered with Bussati, the linen, the traditional linen weaver in Anghiari. So I'm so lucky to have had Bussati and Vietri to help make this such a beautiful book.
Well, I can't wait to write him and tell him we made the cover.
Yes,
I mean, the food is fabulous. But tell me this, what are fresh ingredients that are hard to find in Italy? Are there any?
The fresh ingredients are so superior there. I mean, I don't talk about that very much because I don't want somebody to say, love it or leave it. But actually, yesterday in the grocery store, I got asparagus, and compared to the way it tastes in Italy, the melons, the fruit, there's just an intensity of flavor in the fresh ingredients. I can't think of anything that I can't get there that I get here.
Do you find there's any cooking differences? Like, I find they like their desserts, any breads a lot drier than what we usually eat.
Desserts are not my favorite things
No.
in Italian cooking. It's just a different cultural take on desserts. Their desserts are much less sweet
Yes.
than ours. And you and I were raised on coconut cake and caramel cake.
And
pecan
chocolate,
pie.
real chocolate, chocolate icing with
So they bring
hot
out these
milk
little
sauce.
fruit crostini, and I'm thinking, where's the real dessert?
Right.
I've tried to be better, but
Well, we did find in our cookbook, which I loved, is besides the tiramisu, there's a chocolate almond cake that is easy and out of this world. Of course, yours, but you have that American knowledge. And then there's also their apple cake. They put a lot of lemon juice. They marinate the apples, and then they put those in the cake so it brings out the flavor. And then I cook it less so that it can stay more moist. I'm looking.
Well, you mentioned and you mentioned lemon. I think if I had to say what my one favorite ingredient is in the kitchen, it would be lemon. We have pots this big with lemon trees, and it's just such a delight to be able to go out and pick as many lemons as I can pick. Here, I can't keep them alive because they
That's right.
come in the winter and they lose all their leaves. But I love. There's so many great lemon desserts in Italian cooking,
And they put lemon almost on everything, right?
Lots of things, yeah.
So this is the torta caprese. Again, really easy. They use dark chocolate
Almond
and almond, almonds, and then they have a type of flour that's a very refined flour. We changed it to make sure that we could do all purpose, but we added the almond flour as well. And that's delicious with very simple whipped cream.
That looks good.
Yeah.
Are you going to cook that tomorrow night? When I'm coming to dinner at your house?
Yes. No, you're not. No, I'm not. We're having birthday cake for my sister that is from Durham. So why do you think that table settings create a mood? And how important is it to you to set a table?
Oh, it's just fun. It's part of the big fun to me. I think it comes from playing with a lot of dolls when I was little and setting up houses and stuff. But my mother was very particular about what went on the table. And I went to a party last week where the long table for 8 had an enormous centerpiece of beautiful flowers, but nobody could see anybody.
Right.
There's so many little things that you have to notice with setting the table. And I know from being at your house that it's a passion of yours. So what do you do that is important to you?
Yeah, I think very similar to you. We had so many foreigners in our home that setting the table for the season from being a little girl was really important. And so mixing dinnerware patterns up, using something old from my family with something Baby Gaytree, I make it easy, just create an environment where people feel relaxed and people can talk. I use little hibiscus glass vases that we do so that they're short, but you can run them down the center and do mixed flowers in each one. So anything to keep it simple, seasonal, and a bit eclectic. Formal dinnerware of my grandmother's with casual ceramics. Why not?
Yeah.
So
when I was growing up, it was mostly about silverware.
Oh,
that's right. That's kind of faded away.
Yeah.
The julep cups and the silver goblets and all that. Those things are kind of gone with the wind.
Do you use them still?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I always have the silver candlesticks, but I love your glassware.
Thank you.
It is so dramatic, and it can kind of make the table setting itself. Also, you got a lot of flatware in bright colors and in gold.
That's right. Flatware is very trendy right now. So we have stainless steel, then we have gold plated because gold or black dinnerware is very up. We also do a line that's so popular called Aladdin with acrylic handles. I think you use that in the summer some.
Yes.
And they come in a dozen colors that you can choose from.
I love the blue.
Yeah, a blue.
Yeah.
The glasses are still mouth blown. We have everything from glasses with dots, clear with different colored dots or different lines that are striped. But the most dramatic is called Regalia, and it's done in 4 pastel colors, but it's got gold over the color in a design on the outside. And people love them, even if you just use the wine glasses and use your own clear goblets or colored goblets. But glasses really make a table as well. I'm thinking Italy in a glass might be a good name since you gave me Italy on a plate.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love those kind of Moorish ones that you have.
Oh, they're so beautiful.
Really pretty.
Yeah, glass is really important now. A lot of people who don't want to invest in the plates as much really invest in glass, and that's really fun.
Yeah.
And of course, linens like Bussati or we do some simple linen straw mats and things like that.
You know, last year we got into picnics again. I'm always thinking, why don't we have a picnic? We almost never have picnics, but last year we got kind of into it again. And you have that darling melamine.
Yes.
It doesn't break. But you can still have a lovely kind of fun picnic.
Well, you know, we did melamine in 3 different patterns: a holiday pattern, a white pattern called lastra, which means strap. It's designed around the strap that you use to make cheeses. And then we do Campagna. And Campagna is this first dinnerware we used with all the animals that mix back and forth. But it looks so much like the ceramic.
It does.
People are so surprised it's melamine. But picnicking should be something we're all doing.
Yes.
So Frances, I want to know one thing about you, and then I'll tell what I do. But tell me your process of writing a book.
Oh, I don't really have one. I don't really have one.
Yes, she does.
I get an idea for a book and I start kind of just scribbling around it without really knowing what I'm doing. And then something catches me as an opening. And for me, it's the first sentence. Once you've got that first sentence, it seems like the whole book has to hinge from that sentence and has to go on from that sentence. I never know the end. I wouldn't really be able to write the book if I knew the end. I'm talking about novels and essays. For travel books, it's much more straightforward. You're going to a place, you do massive research. You get there, you walk, you talk, you write. And it's much more straightforward. But for, more interior kind of book, it's a mysterious process. How did you write this?
Well, we talked a little bit about it because I needed some guidance from you, but mine was so much about the experience of building a company and where it came from in my roots. And I believe that most of us, if we're really happy with what we do, we were loving to do something like it when we were children. You have to tap on to what are your core interests. And that's hard, but it was for us what my first sentence was, which was, I grew up in a home filled with guests, dinner parties, and Southern hospitality.
Exactly.
That's how we grew up.
That's who you are, who you became, and what you are.
Yeah, I think so. And so starting a company came from something Daddy always said, which was, you're only a plane ticket or a phone call away, so go. So that also was built in this lack of fear of starting a company. So when this book came about, I wrote the story of how the company started, my background, and then I went into the process of what made it successful. What is it? Well, it was creating relationships. And in Italy, as you know, or as a Southerner, we like people immediately. Then they've got to do 2 or 3 things that we don't like. We think we're not going to spend time with them. In Italy, you get the impression that they're so friendly, but they do not invite you into their home until they've met you and been with you 3, 4, 5 times, because the greatest honor is to be invited into their home.
Yeah.
And when you're invited, you're a friend. They consider you a friend. And so I really kind of thought about who were those people and how did that work? And then how did I bring that back? So mine was more of a process and an outline, but then writing was just coming from my head and heart.
Did you enjoy the process?
I loved it. And again, I've never written an important book before. I've written poems that are prose for children's books that are easy for me. But I really loved it because it was about something I love so much.
It really matters.
Yeah, it did.
Did you work in Italy on the book, or did you just write it mostly at home?
No, I did it both because Bill and I have rented an apartment in Florence for 3 months for the past 6 or 7 years. And so I would sit in the morning with my iPad and just write. But I did, after I kind of got the core and came home, then it was nonstop. So it was done more at home than in Italy. But then I got to go back and do the photography and then talk about recipes and think about what I'd eaten with friends over there. So
and then so many more ideas can come.
Exactly.
And then you go back to the manuscript, then you go back to Italy, and it just keeps, you think I could write this forever.
Exactly. I got to a place where I said, okay, now I'm going to start making another document about other things. But if I keep changing this and adding to it, the book is going to be,
Encyclopedia Britannica.
Exactly.
Well, you've been in Florence for 3 months, a year, many years. Is that your favorite city?
It's the city I know the best. It's a city that you walk and never have to have a car. It's a city that's brimming with small boutiques and artisans and art and people that are creative. So
and the Renaissance.
I always talk at work to the minority of men that work, and we have about 50 women and 20 men, but that I want them to be Renaissance men. I want them to feel the arts and know how to have manners and how to just understand what Beatrice is about. And I think they really drink the Kool-Aid and were very pleased when they got a book.
Yes, I can imagine.
Yeah. So Frances, owning a home in Cortona, tell me about that process and how you found it and what happened.
Oh, Dio, that's such a saga. In brief, we've been there for 100 years, and it seems like home. And my last book was A Place in the World, finding the meaning of home. And I think it was partly through that process of landing in a foreign country and having that strange sense of feeling at home when it was not home.
Right.
And it was nothing like home, and I don't have a drop of Italian blood.
But me either. Look at it. Scottish English all the way. Yeah.
But I've loved my life there, and as long as I can go, I will continue to, because I just find Italy very inspiring, not only for writing and traveling, but just as a kind of sense of possibility that I feel there.
I love that.
that I just love. I find the people there very generous and loving. My friends here are too, but everywhere you go in Italy,
Everywhere.
it's like that. It doesn't take much for you to feel a warmth between people, not just a cordiality, but a warmth. And
So I want to tell two stories about you. One is we were having breakfast and you said, "Oh, this came from the fellow who's painting the house. And he brings fresh bread from his wife. And this came from someone else's fruit trees." And that's what happens in
Yes.
Italy.
there's this generosity. The last chapter of my book is about that generosity, how
Such a great
it's a
word
gift giving
Yes.
exchange
for no
there.
reason
Right,
except wanting to.
without expectation of
None.
return. You just find yourself being bestowed with baskets of blessings all the time. It's a very uplifting kind of place to live.
So here's the last story, the most, the one that's just happened. I was in Cortona with you, and we were in the garden, which you had just done more and more and more gardening. And we were standing there, we were going to walk into town, and a car comes up, and you have this beautiful wrought out iron gate, and this young girl and gentleman are in the car, and this girl is looking at your house just in awe. And you said, "Well, this happens a lot because they've seen Under the Tuscan Sun. I think I'll go talk with her." Well, you opened the gate, you walked down, and talking about a sense of generosity, she turned around and started crying because she was meeting you. And you had created, as she told us, something in her life that her dream was to see Brahmasoli. And now, talking to you, she was German or Austrian, I can't remember which one, was a dream come true. And that is what you're like. That's also what Italy's like.
That is what Italy's like. And I think, if you write a book and it does reach people in that way,
Yes.
it really makes you feel good. Because people are always saying to me, "Isn't it annoying that people are always at your gate?" No, it's
No.
not. It's flattering that someone who's read a book or seen a movie can make the journey to come to that place and try to make a connection with it. I often think that people who turn up at my gate are on a quest of some kind.
Right.
And that's partly why I've written some of my best memories of writing Women in Sunlight. It's because I see so many women coming to Italy, and they're not just coming there for the art, they're coming there for that and the wine and the food, but they're on some kind of personal quest.
Absolutely.
And I think this book is your personal quest, and it's been a long, glorious one.
It's been a 40-year glorious life. So, what is your favorite picture in my book? I will show my favorite, which is the Venzo family.
Oh, that's so nice.
Because this is one of our manufacturers, Mariano Venzo, and his wife Agnese, and all of their grandchildren. And this is so classically Italian.
They're all at the table.
They are at the table.
If there's a 98-year-old.
Oh, they're all there. Yeah. And they're all together. And they all love this picture, and they're all touching each other. And the one that wants to be a carpenter more than anything is in the tree. So that, as far as showing around the table, is my favorite.
Well, I love this one. This was your first pattern,
That's
right?
it. That's it.
That was what started the whole deal. Finding those, and that's familiar to so many people.
Yes, that is. And we did a chapter on them. And this is a funny story because Tony is now the oldest son of the original owner. And here is their factory. let's see, right?
Okay.
That's just unbelievable. There.
Oh, that is so bizarre.
It looks like it should be inside, looks like the Smithsonian.
Is this a kiln or what is
No,
that?
this is just the outside
Uh-huh.
of the building. And no,
Mhm.
it moves like that. When I first started, they were so slow in sending product that I went over and spent 3 weeks boxing my own plates.
Oh,
And I was sitting there boxing, and suddenly the father down is screaming, and I did not speak very good Italian then. And I look, and their 6-year-old son is running up this not a gangplank, but it kept going around ramp, and they were drying biscuits for plates all on the ground, and Marco and the dog were walking all over them, and they were screaming. And I thought, here I am. This is why I've not gotten my plates. And then after that, the last thing that happens the next day, this limousine comes, and these beautiful American people are getting out. Well, I am ducking and hiding because I have on my work clothes, and that was Neiman Marcus coming with, of course, their limousine driver. So it's been a lot of wild stories.
well, they're all good ones.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, what's your next thing to do?
Oh, I'm working on a novel right now, so that'll keep me busy through the summer.
Have you decided what is going to happen in that novel?
Still evolving. Right now it's called The Last Marriage, but I'm not sure who the last marriage is going to take place between. So,
oh, that's good. I love the name. Well, I want to show one more story. This is somebody really special. I called this my friend Potenza because he was the first person to paint the first design of Campagna that I created. And he also was the first person to ever bring me something from his home that he had cooked. And he's still painting. He's, retired forever. And when I showed him this picture and read him in Italian what I'd written about him, he started crying. So
that reminds me when I wrote Under the Tuscan Sun, I changed the names of people in Cortona to protect their privacy. And then when the book came out in Italian, people would come up to me, Signora, why did you change my name? So I'm sure he was quite pleased to be.
They are very pleased that their own names are in the book. And
well, it's a kind of, an immortality for people when they get put in a book.
Exactly. Important. And it's important to their families. This is another one I love. And I called this the young man of Positano, because I met Giovanni when he was about 4 years old. And he was one of these children that was at his Zio, his uncle's ceramic factory. And he would try to speak English, and he would greet us. Well, now he owns 3. He's done incredibly well. And we went out for dinner with them, and they left on a motorcycle with both children and the mother and the husband
all together.
Yeah.
Well, Susan, maybe we should see if anyone has any questions for us.
Yeah.
I think we have, ladies, this is so wonderful. We have a few questions. Let's see, we have time for 1 or 2 questions. One of the questions is, as you work together, what was your favorite part of working on this book?
I think my favorite part was thinking about all the incredible experiences I'd had and who would be the people in the book. So, and
the characters,
the ones that just encouraged me all the time, and encouraged me not only because they were making product and we were designing together, but also we had fun. And that's another thing. Italians live for the day, and there is a joy about that moment that we all go back to and get back into, right?
Yes.
And then we have one last question. What's your favorite Italian restaurant in the US? And do you go there often, and why?
Oh, no. Well, there was only one I would go to because I eat so much Italian food that it's hard to go to many Italian restaurants in America. But I think it's still on in New York. There's a restaurant called Orso.
Yes, and La Posta.
And La
There are lots of
Posta.
good restaurants
Yeah.
in New York, but we're way down here in North Carolina, so it's different.
Do you go to a restaurant here?
Mercato and yeah, Mercato is wonderful.
Yes, Mercato Market
Is
is,
the Gocciolina near us.
yeah, you're right.
Fathers and sons, mothers and sons.
Mothers and
downtown
Sons. Yep, I love
around
that.
us, but
Yeah.
you know, in cities, I'm sure in San Francisco there's some great ones, but I haven't been there in quite a while, so.
Thank you, because Mercato's in Chapel Hill and Francis and Ed live in another town, and Mercato is incredible. His parents were award winners.
Yeah,
of Magnolia Grill. Yeah, many.
Southern restaurant.
Yes, exactly. They won the James Beard Award, so
Yeah.
he's young and he's doing a great job.
Thank you so much for that. This was making me hungry. Boy, oh boy, this was such an amazing event. And thank you so much for sharing all those beautiful photographs in the book. I'm going to hold up my copy. You can all see it. Again, the title is Italy on a Plate. It is available at Book Passage. We also, of course, have Francis's many books, Under the Tuscan Sun. I just brought this one out because that's my favorite, but we have her other books as well. Independent bookstores. Again, thank you.
Yes.
Books and Books, to Wellesley Books, Barrett Books, and of course, Book Passage. We can offer you these amazing free events because you buy your books at an independent bookstore. So thank you so much for supporting an independent bookstore. They are such a vital part of the community, and especially wonderful travel books. You know, this is kind of a travel lifestyle book. These kinds of books, we have it on display at Book Passage because it kind of fits all different niches. We are so thrilled to support this book. It's a beautiful gift book. It's a beautiful book for any occasion. So I want to thank you, Susan, for writing it. And we have it. It's on our shelves. It's on display. Francis, so wonderful to see you again. I know we do quite a bit with you, so we appreciate you participating this afternoon as well. The company, Viatri, if you haven't checked out their merchandise, it is absolutely gorgeous. You won't see stuff anywhere else there. It is spectacular. So thank you so much to our viewers. Thank you for watching. Again, this event will be archived. You can come back to it at a later date. Susan and Francis, congratulations on the book. Francis, you have one coming up soon, and we hope to do an event with you when that's published. International Women's Day, and we are so proud to support Women's International Business. This is an international business, so again, founded by Susan over 40 years ago. Congratulations. Go out, celebrate Independent Women's Day, and thank you again for tuning in to events at Book Passage. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao.